Good afternoon. My name is Winnie Brownell. I'm Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and this is an absolutely thrilling day for me and for the University of Rhode Island. I still remember over 20 years ago, a team of internationally renowned humanists came together and felt, based on our outstanding achievements in teaching, scholarship, and service in the humanities, that we needed to do something to bring this community of scholars together so that we could continue with our vision to maintain the humanities as a very vibrant part of the liberal arts core of our research university. Those fine minds came together and they put together a proposal, which was then approved through the entire governance process. At that time, we always hoped we'd be celebrating a 20th anniversary, and indeed we are, but of course we're looking ahead to the 100th and to the 500th, and so on. Obviously in the humanities, we're used to dealing with long periods of time, celebrating our past, and envisioning an exciting future. I remember when we had a consultant come to the university for our first capital campaign, and I talked to that fine individual about our vision for building endowments to support the humanities, to support graduate students, faculty, one-day visiting scholars, and certainly various grant programs. The consultant's response after I articulated the vision was to burst out laughing. And I was pleased that our vision made him so happy. But he said, "You'll be lucky if you raise $10,000. Good luck." And I'm happy to say we certainly outpaced that prediction by well more than tenfold. In fact, we very quickly had a six-figure central endowment as well as a variety of named endowments. We're still continuing on a bold vision for the future to continue to enhance our plans. And obviously, we're so pleased that so many members of the community, including people who graduated in fields outside the humanities, but who now embrace the value and see it more and more as they go through their lives about what humanists do, not only in speaking to other humanists and preparing future generations of humanists, but in what humanists offer to any field of endeavor, the value they bring to the table as scholars, as creative thinkers. And this is something that I knew would happen. In fact, I would like to ask you all to read the President Dooley's blog, because he has a fabulous message about the role of the humanities in the 21st century, and very timely too, President Dooley. I'm quite excited about that. Well, I'm pleased you're here today. We have a very exciting program, and it is with great pleasure that I now turn the program over to our president, David Dooley, who will bring greetings of his own. Thank you, President Dooley.
Thank you, Winnie. It is indeed a pleasure to be here and celebrate 20 years of the Center for Humanities at the University of Rhode Island. A prescient, I think, group of people came together and recognized something that I think now is becoming much more apparent to all of us. I'll give you the short version of my blog, and you don't have to read it. And it's just this. We no longer live in the world that we inhabited 20 years ago. It has fundamentally changed, and our new world is a world where we're not just connected and interconnected, but we are interdependent. And we are interdependent in ways that we could not imagine 20 years ago. And therefore, we depend upon relationships with people who are fundamentally different than probably any of us in this room are, even though this is a pretty diverse room. And in that kind of world, the study of what makes us human, the nature of humanity, is more important than ever, because we will depend upon each other and understanding each other in ways that really are unprecedented. And so I think as we go forward into the 21st century, looking at the humanities as a global discipline, a globally critical set of disciplines, I think, is just exactly the way we have to do it, and it makes meetings like this and conversations like this ever more important. And Professor Spelling, I think, captures this in a way in her work, which I can't, I'll have to take just a minute to comment on because I was so struck by it, is that she places her analysis in part in the response of the founders of this nation to global contexts. And their reaction to global contexts shaped the way they thought about what was important in the making of this country. And I think that captures, in a small way, I think, the nature of the issues which we're going to confront on global scales going forward for the next several decades. And if you ever want to get a sense of the role of the humanities, the importance of humanities education, I think, being critical to current decisions that we have to make in the realm of public policy and politics and social policy and economic policy here in the United States, I think you can get a sense of the necessity of education in that area simply by reading the comments section, which I did this afternoon in part, to the review of Professor Spelling's book in the Daily Beast. She, as an author, is well advised to stay away from those comments. But interestingly, most of those comments are actually not about your book, but about what it means to be American in a century where you can't avoid engagement with Islam and with Muslims, and what that means. And that is a critical area of engagement for this country going forward, a critical agent for engagement of many countries across the world, and it's just one more small example of what it means to live in an interdependent world where the understanding of culture and language, of literature and history, of politics, of economics, on a global scale, looking at many societies and many peoples, is more important than ever. So I think it is a great day and a great time to be involved in the humanities, whether it's in the arts or in literature or any of the other disciplines involved, because frankly your work is going to be more important and I think more influential than ever before. So thank you so much, Professor Spelling, for joining us today, for highlighting this celebration of the 20 years of the Center for Humanities at the University of Rhode Island. We look forward indeed to another 20 years of great scholarship and great learning. And we look forward to hearing from you about a most fascinating topic. Thank you.
In addition to the wonderful scholars and educators in the humanities, we have had the good fortune to have an amazing executive advisory board of faculty who have been led by a series of great leaders. And each time the leadership turns over, I'm always so impressed with the distinctive contributions each leader has made to our Center for Humanities. And one person who has taken us to an exciting new level as part of our celebration is Anu Matthew, who has a very special film to share.
Well, it's wonderful to see so many of you here today, a lot of familiar faces and some new ones, which is wonderful. My name is Anu Palakunathu Matthew, and I'm the new director for the Center for Humanities. And I'm sure some of you have been wondering how to pronounce that middle name, so now you know. I'm a lapsed mathematics major and now an artist whose work overlaps with the humanities. As a result, I'm very aware of the importance of the humanities, and I've become director of the center at a point in history where there's a larger society-wide debate about the relevance of the humanities. One irony to me is that other countries understand its value in the 21st century, as witnessed by the fact that countries like Singapore, India, and Abu Dhabi are rapidly building liberal arts colleges based on our model. This happens while we still have to justify our place in the academic universe. On our 20th anniversary, I see the center and the humanities at URI as being at something of a crossroads. At this important moment, the center decided to create a movie about our history so that we can simultaneously look back at our past as we work to build our future. So this 7-minute movie was made by one of our alumni, Daniel Lash, who's here today. Daniel, if you could stand up. He's right at the back. And before we show the movie, I also wanted to make a special mention and thank you to Tom Zarabedian, who has helped make our endowment happen. So I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to hearing your ideas and thoughts of how the center can serve you in new ways in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We decided one of the best ways we could celebrate this special anniversary was to celebrate it through merit scholarships to our students who are in the humanities. And so the faculty reviewed students and have nominated 3 outstanding students, 1 graduate student and 2 undergrads, who will each be introduced by faculty members. So if I can ask the first faculty member to come forward. Dr. Jean Walton.
And if Beasley could also come forward.
Right. Beasley Knost. Thanks, Winnie. You're welcome.
Beasley Knost began her distinguished academic career, during which she never earned less than a perfect 4.0 grade point average, at the University of Oklahoma, where she took her BA in psychology and English and her MA in English literature. She came to New England by way of Brown's creative writing program, where she was awarded the MFA in fiction. And she is now completing here in our English department a dissertation titled Off the Hip, a Thermodynamics of the Cool, under the direction of myself, Jean Walton. Knost's project takes what at first seems to be a trivial term, cool, and subjects it to serious scrutiny, tracing it from its emergence in an African-American jazz and civil rights tradition through its transformations and appropriations throughout U.S. history in the latter half of the 20th century. Beasley's revised first chapter has already been accepted for publication in a collection of essays on James Baldwin, and she's also published her creative writing in the literary journal, Roger. She's been the recipient of many distinguished awards, including research grants from the Center for Humanities and the Graduate School to travel to the Shirley Clark Archives in Wisconsin. She's an experimental filmmaker, and the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh. She's also won first prize in the English department's critical essay contest, and she's held teaching assistantships at URI, Brown, and Oklahoma. She teaches a broad variety of courses in literature, writing, and film across the URI campus and at other area schools.
Congratulations. And now Dr. Cheryl Foster.
And Morgan?
And Morgan?
Morgan Breen is a Rhode Island farm woman who came up through the ranks of 4-H to be a leader before she came to the University of Rhode Island to study history, anthropology, and eventually archaeology. Morgan became interested in underwater archaeology after studying abroad in the United Kingdom in the fall of her junior year. As a part of those studies, Morgan received Undergraduate Research Initiative grant to study Napoleon's 1799 siege of the port of what is now Akko in Israel. The work Morgan completed while on this research trip both surprised and impressed Morgan's professors, as well as the scholars at the Israeli Antiquities Authority, because she submitted a game-changing paper on the topic. Morgan has helped rewrite the naval history of the Napoleonic Wars, and this is no exaggeration, with her identification and interpretation of shipwreck discoveries at Akko. She has already presented work related to that at professional conferences. As her professor, Dr. Bridget Buxton, wrote, basically, in maritime history, it does not get more significant than this. Morgan is a finalist for the Fulbright Award at the University of Southampton in their UK Maritime Archaeology program, and it's no small achievement, coming from the smallest state in the nation. From my perspective in honors, Morgan Breen has surpassed even our most accomplished honors students in the professional scope of her scholarly achievement. And I'll say off script here that Morgan wrote the single best personal essay I have read in 20 years of reading student essays when applying for fellowships. She wrote about leaning against a cow and reading literature, but also in a nuanced and memorable way, highlighting the links between Rhode Island's maritime history and its agricultural one. I'm privileged today to introduce to you and to congratulate Morgan Breen, already a scholar before she has her BA.
And now, last but not least, Tom Zorbedian and Tammy Francois.
Over the years, it's been my pleasure to meet, teach, and work with many, many students. And as you know, we have many students who are exceptional academically. We have some who are very dependable and enthusiastic in their work, in their jobs on campus. And we have some that are dedicated to community service. Sometimes we find students that are able to combine all three qualities. And Tammy Francois is one of those special students. Tammy, besides having one of the coolest names on campus, represents the humanities very well. She is a major in both film media and English. She's a Harrington Ranger. Those are students who work for the Harrington School as brand ambassadors, a filmmaker and vice president of URI's Slam Poetry Club. She loves all forms of art, and her favorites are writing, cinematography, dancing, acting, and performing the spoken word. Tammy is no stranger to the written word, however, as she is the fall 2013 winner of the Paul Conway Memorial Essay Contest, in which students must submit a one-page essay on the value of a liberal arts education. It is another brilliant essay, but in her essay, she wrote, "A liberal arts education teaches students to become artists and sculpt the clay, which is our minds." As a ranger, she coordinates a community service project to support a local women's shelter and also meets with prospective students and their parents, and she films Harrington School events. Among the many things she's doing this semester, she's working with Italian professor Michelangelo La Luna on a film about the unique aspects of the Italian immigration to Westerly, Rhode Island. And at the same time, she maintains an exceptional GPA. Her interest in community service has also led her to tutor students at the Central School and has taken her to Haiti to help the people of her parents' native country. In the future, Tammy aspires to establish herself as a uniquely skilled screenwriter and filmmaker. One of her ultimate goals is to publish a series of books and subsequently adapt them into films, and I'm sure that she will. And everything that Tammy does now, and what I believe she will do in the future, she embraces the essence and spirit of the humanities. Congratulations, Tammy Francois.
And now it's my great pleasure to introduce you to our Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, who not only helped support our film, but did a marvelous thing. In addition to many other faculty lines, he helped support a cluster of talented faculty in the humanities that he'll tell you about. Dr. DeHaze.
Thank you all, and welcome. I join Dean Brownell and President Dooley in congratulating the Center for the Humanities and all the faculty, staff, and students who've been affiliated with the Center for 20 years on this wonderful celebration and anniversary. In particular, I want to acknowledge and thank 3 faculty, Professor Schwartz, Professor Johnson, and of course, Professor Matthew, who have led the center through the years. Your leadership has been critical to not only keeping the center moving forward, but expanding its impact on campus and off campus. As Dean Brownell hinted when she passed the microphone to me, we started an interdisciplinary initiative here a year or 2 ago on campus. And as we saw in the film, particularly that's portion of the film that was the linkage to the future, we heard student comments and faculty comments about cross-disciplinary, transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary work. And interestingly, and I think importantly, the big questions that we ask, that our humanists in particular take on and address, are questions that while they are addressed through the lens of philosophy or literature or the performing and visual arts, those are questions that really cut across the disciplines, cut across our history from past into the future. So when we set forward through a competitive process to fund interdisciplinary cluster hires, one of the most compelling and important themes that emerged from our faculty, from all of our faculty of the university, was a theme about Islamic and Mediterranean studies, and the need for URI to move in this direction, not only to address those areas as a focused arena of study, but really to ensure that all of our students, as well as our staff and our faculty, are well versed in the important issues associated with Islam and Mediterranean studies. So with that, we set forward to hire 3 faculty across disciplines, led by Professor Harnhart from the history department. But we got a bonus. We were actually able to bring in 4 faculty because coincidentally, another search also hired a faculty member who focuses her work in Islamic studies as well. And I don't know if those faculty are here or not. I hope they are. Yes, they are. Okay, right up front. So I'm going to read their names, and perhaps they'll stand, and we'll put a lot of pressure on them to perform here. So we were very, very fortunate in actually the first cluster hire to complete the search and to bring in 4 faculty members, and they are Professor Alan Verskin, whose appointment is in history, Professor Alexander Majidow, whose appointment is in languages, Professor Katrin Joma, who has a joint appointment between philosophy and political sciences, and then the 4th hire was Professor Leslie Kielhofer-Kemp, who is also appointed in languages. I don't know if Leslie's here. She's teaching. Very good excuse not to be here. So it is my pleasure to introduce to the URI community who's gathered here today 3 brand new faculty who have been here now less than a year, who promise to help chart a course, not only for the humanities, but for a particular important area of Islamic and Mediterranean studies. Welcome to the university once again.